Good afternoon. Well, good afternoon, and welcome to Dakota State University. I'm Ashley Podorodsky, Vice President for Research and Economic Development, and Director of our Cybersecurity Clinic. Today, we are thrilled to celebrate the grand opening of our DSU Cybersecurity Clinic. We've been deeply committed to supporting cybersecurity resilience across South Dakota for years. Through our existing partnerships with the U.S. Small Business Administration, the Attorney General's Office, and others, we've helped hundreds of small businesses understand what cyber risks are and how they impact their business. Now, thanks to a $1 million grant from Google.org, we're thrilled to expand this work, hiring more students to provide more services to businesses, as well as rural water districts, nonprofits, the K-12 community, and other community-based organizations. To date, we have trained thousands of individuals across public and private sectors in cybersecurity skills. The impact is real, and it's growing every day, and we're just getting started. Before I begin, I'd like to take a moment to recognize a few special guests in the room and those that have helped us get where we're at. First is State Senator Casey Crabtree. Where is he? There he is. A champion for cybersecurity initiatives across South Dakota. Matt Negamin. The membership director for the Consortium of Cybersecurity Clinics. Rachel Brady from Google.org. And our Google Clinic is in our Paulson Center for Cyber and Economic Development, which is proudly named after one of our DSU graduates, Matt Paulson. Thank you all for being here. At the center of this work, we're preparing the next generation, and we're joined today by more than 150 cybersecurity professionals. And we're excited that you're here and that you've invested in your future success. Today, you'll hear from cyber professionals about their experience in the field. One of the things that you'll learn is that careers in cybersecurity begin with knowing how to safely use technology today. So after our career panel, you will participate in internet safety training activities where you'll learn important skills that will help you safely navigate the digital world. And now I will pass the mic over to Dr. Yosei Marie Griffiths, DSU President, a national leader in cybersecurity education, public service, and technology policy, and a driving force behind DSU's rise on the national stage. She will moderate today's panel. Please join me in welcoming her and all of our panelists.
Thank you, Ashley. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm an educator. We always need that feedback. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Much better. Thank you. Well, it's really a privilege today to welcome all of you to Dakota State University and to thank you, our distinguished guests, for their participation in today's Careers in Cybersecurity panel. We've made it our mission at DSU to lead in cyber education, research, and national security. And our strength has been built through partnerships with organizations like Google and like those represented by the individuals on the stage. As we hear from our experts, it'll be clear how cybersecurity touches every part of our lives, from personal data to national security. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, technology is interwoven into every activity. You may not think about national security when you ask your smart home device to play, well, this would be for the young ladies at the back of the room, to play your favorite Taylor Swift song. However, my daughter's quite a bit older than you, and she's a Swiftie too. But protecting those devices that add convenience and comfort to your day is just one way that so many of our DSU graduates are making the world a safer place. Investments from Google make this work possible across the country. And here at DSU, we're thrilled to enhance and expand our cybersecurity efforts and join with Google to protect our digital and connected world. With that, I'd like to introduce our four panelists and get to our discussion. First of all, Josh Stroschein. Hi, Josh. He's a DSU alum and security engineer with Google, offering insight today on how cybersecurity operates on a global scale. Congressman Dusty Johnson, sitting right next to me, is a member of the U.S. House of Representatives on behalf of South Dakota and is a vocal leader in shaping national cybersecurity policy and advancing digital innovation. The Lieutenant Governor of South Dakota, Tony Van Huysen, plays a key role in strengthening cybersecurity at the state and community level. And Chad Knudsen, president of SBS Cybersecurity and a DSU alum, is a successful entrepreneur working directly with critical sectors like banking and healthcare. So please give a warm welcome to our panelists for today. So I'm going to give each of you some questions. First of all, Congressman Johnson, how is cybersecurity shaping the national security agenda today, and what skills do we need in the workforce to keep up? How can collaborations with companies like Google help?
Well, first off, I have to tell you, I love this camp that you host. I was making some new friends back here earlier, and in fact, we have Kimber and Kylie and Presley up there, right? I asked them if they were learning anything this week, Madam President, and their faces lit up. And it shows that Dakota State's doing a great job of making sure that next generation of cyber leaders is ready to go. Ashley had mentioned something about making sure people were being safe. There are a lot of soldering scars back there. I'm a little concerned that some of those wounds have not been properly dressed, but that's okay. So I serve on the Select Committee on China, and the Chinese people are not our enemies. But the Chinese Communist Party is absolutely the primary adversary of our country. And I came to the cybersecurity party, Madam President, when I was briefed by some Taiwanese officials that about the 2.4 million cyber attacks that the CCP conducts against Taiwan. Not 2.4 million a year, 2.4 million attacks a day. And that was a few years ago when the light bulb went off for me that we are not doing enough. And your question asked about partners like Google. If you only look at cybersecurity professionals that are on the government payroll, who works for China and who works for the United States of America, we are outnumbered 50-1. This is a race that seems hopeless until you remember that in America, we don't expect the government to do everything. And when you add in incredible cybersecurity professionals at our partners like Google, this is a race that America will win and a race that America must win.
Thank you very much. Lieutenant Governor, what role do the states play in cybersecurity defense, and how is South Dakota preparing its communities and workforce for cyber threats?
Yeah, thank you. And as Dusty said, it's good to be here with you and exciting to see these participants in this camp because, as he said, we have a real need for people to be working in this area and focusing on it, so it's great to see. State government has a variety of roles that we play. One very important power that the state has is the role of a convener, where you can bring a meeting together, you can bring a group of people together, and you can start to have a conversation. And so one recent development, Governor Roden created what's called the Governor's Resilient Infrastructure Task Force, or GRIT Task Force. And of course, when someone looks at me, the first thing they think of is grit, right? Dusty agrees with that. And so the governor asked me to chair this, not because I don't think of my expertise in cybersecurity, but because of my expertise in organizing a meeting. It's an important thing, though, because as the congressman was just saying, we have a lot of private actors in South Dakota that are concerned about cybersecurity. Practically all of our critical infrastructure in the United States is privately held, whether it's an electric utility or a water, wastewater, natural gas, communications. Very little of that is government controlled. But all of these actors have real concerns about protecting that infrastructure. When that was built, a lot of that infrastructure was built long before the idea of cybersecurity would have occurred to anybody. You didn't even have a computer. But today, these things have been connected to the internet. They're controlled remotely. They can be controlled remotely, and we know they can be manipulated remotely. And we have seen, and he mentioned the China task force, we've seen instances where it's pretty clear that the Chinese government is doing that, even if they're just kind of testing how far they can get and what they can do. So what the GRIT task force will be doing is bringing together leaders from within state government, the Adjutant General of the National Guard, Public Safety, Bureau of Information and Telecom, with the leaders of these key infrastructure sectors to try to ask, what are the best practices that we can learn from? What can the state do to help? How can these private entities be helping each other? We want to make sure that as a state, we're doing everything we can to be offering leadership and protecting our infrastructure so that if an attack does happen, and if you see any of the war games or read about what could happen if there was, say, a confrontation over Taiwan, what would happen in the United States very quickly or could happen, you can see some pretty scary scenarios. How can we protect ourselves from that? So that's one thing. The second thing, and in that same vein, and Senator Crabtree is here, a year or two ago, the legislature put $7 million into a program that's run here with Dakota State to help city and county governments with their cybersecurity. Some, South Dakota, they really run the gamut. We have some city and county governments that are very good. We have some where they're using AOL email accounts. That's really, it really runs the gamut. And this is a resource that's been put into place to help consult with them and help them learn from best practices. Senator Crabtree knows my 10-year-old son was very key to helping him get that passed, wasn't he? Went and sat with him at the rostrum when he pitched that bill. But that's something that we're doing as a state to help those local governments too. And then, of course, finally, I would say, and I don't need to tell you this, but Dakota State University itself is a major state contribution to this area and a resource that we're very proud to have in terms of the expertise that we draw from this university and the faculty, the graduates that can enter these jobs and enter this workforce in cybersecurity, and then the opportunities that we have right here for young people to learn about this topic and the opportunities they have to work in this area.
Jody. Chad, we'll go to our two alumni now, so that I just want to say, proud DSU alumni. Chad, you've built a very successful cybersecurity business from the ground up, actually out of DSU, as I understand it. What advice do you have for students or professionals who are looking to carve their own paths through this space?
Great question, and it's great to be back at DSU. It really means a lot in my life and how it's changed things for my family, for the community, for the country. We get to work with people all over the United States helping protect cybersecurity issues. And I guess thinking about that question as a cybersecurity person, I have a really non-technical thought for all of you here for the week is you're going to learn a lot of cool stuff. Great report, Dusty, on what you're hearing. Fun things that you're learning. You're going to how to protect yourself, how to protect your families from cybersecurities in your future career you create with a business, or maybe you start your own company. What's kind of meaningful in that as far as carving your own path? I think as technical people, we oftentimes like to share with other people what we know. And oftentimes I see where we're not making a connection with the other people. So if I'm talking to a board of directors, or maybe it's with elected officials or a small business in a community, like really thinking about what are their priorities, what are their business initiatives. Because I think you're going to find two kinds of people: those who understand the issues you're learning about, so your advice is helpful to them to make better decisions. But you're also going to run into a lot of people that don't understand the issue yet. So trying to find a way to connect with them, so when you share information, they're hearing it and understanding it, so they can solve the problems that you're talking about. And so I just think that listening function is so important, because if they understand what ransomware is, you're going to have a very different conversation about good things that they can do because they know the issue. But maybe it's a business that doesn't really understand that, but they know it's important to pay their employees. So on Friday, we want to make sure all our people get paid. Well, ransomware would stop you from doing that. Or how much money do you make in a day at your business? What if it took you 2 weeks to recover and get your business up and going again. So how do you take the things you know and you want to help them understand and connect it to something meaningful in their organization? I found that's something I still work on as a professional. So if I had maybe started at your age thinking about that, that would really have helped along the way. So you can do this as an exercise when you go home and start sharing the things you're learning about phishing emails and passwords, and try to find a way to connect with your parents or your family members or friends so that they really understand the advice. There's a better chance they're going to apply it. We need a lot of really good security practices by everyone to get control on some of these issues that we're seeing out there. So that'd be my basic.
Thank you. Chad, I know that you grew from 2 or 3 employees. How many employees do you have now?
I think 93 on Monday. So.
Yeah, so that grew out of here, so just want to mention that.
Sure.
Josh, welcome back. It's good to see you back. You worked here at DSU, and then you pursued a cyber career and landed at Google. What advice do you have for students interested in working in cybersecurity at companies like Google?
So it's been an interesting journey. It'd be easy for me to sit here and look back and say it was all planned and intentional, and I'd be lying to you then, because a lot of it's boiled down to knowing things, knowing people, and then just a small amount of luck, or maybe a large amount of luck. The last time I was in this building, and if that was my classroom there, I spent the most time in. I was probably teaching a reverse engineering course or something. So it is a bit surreal to be back here. I know I won't have a lot of time. Probably the biggest challenge for me this week is to keep this answer short. So I'll see if I can do that. There's a lot of things that I think can go into this. A big part of it, when I do look back and as I'm looking forward as well, because I don't know where I'll be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Technology changes so quickly. Just when I think I have some semblance or grasp around what I need to do and how to chart my career, AI takes over, and that changes the whole landscape as to how I approach my job, which is engineering, reverse engineering. So be intentional. Try to be proactive in charting your career and take ownership of it. Don't let your career happen to you. Make sure that you're happening to your career. Google was not something that I ever really had on my roadmap, because I didn't think that they would hire me, but I just didn't think it was an opportunity that I would even qualify for. And I think part of what enabled that for me was also, oddly enough, I found opportunities when I started a master's program here. That was my first introduction to DSU. One of the professors in one of the courses said, hey, you need to start recording videos for your peers and putting them online. I chose YouTube at the time, and I didn't think much of it. I didn't put a whole lot of effort into those videos because they were just for my classmates. I thought that's all I need. I just need to get through the course. I was slowly adding content. I started getting some followers and subscribers. So at some point I decided to take it a little bit more serious, and that turned into a much more concentrated effort on growing a persona or a brand. And so that ultimately led to opportunities at Google. In fact, I was recruited twice via LinkedIn. And little did I realize that allowed me to circumvent the whole application process, which is going up against tens of thousands of applicants a day across the enterprise, as well as now heavy filtering and AI and whatever else goes into it. I have no idea how HR works. So that was a great shortcut. And I was contacted by my manager, who became my manager. And I just went right into the interview process. So it was great. And so I'm not suggesting everyone start a YouTube channel. I'm not even saying that mine's all that great. It's pretty modest by reverse engineering standards. But think of ways in which you can set yourself apart, and not think of just the traditional, if I build a resume, if it's on a CV, that's going to be enough. If I do some internships and get some job experience, part of that ownership, I think, is not just looking for those opportunities, but then also finding ways to really help set yourself apart and catch the eye of potential employers, potential nonprofits, creating opportunity for yourself. I found ways at Google that I also never thought were possible. Such a large organization, to create new opportunities for myself, and to get the company then to support and buy in and provide me with the resources needed. So I guess be creative and be proactive.
Great. Thank you very much. Now I've got a question that I'm going to ask it for 2 of you at a time, and then you can each answer. So for Dusty and Tony, what's one emerging area in cybersecurity that students should be watching closely right now?
I mean, AI is the obvious answer. I mean, I do think these things, they're multipliers, they're synergies. I mean, when you take AI and cybersecurity, there are going to be things possible for Chad and Josh that they just couldn't even have dreamed were possible a couple of years ago. And that's why I think if I was going to hit on one thing other than a technology arena, I would just say to the students, you got to be nimble. I mean, ultimately, the technical tools that you will use on the job site in even just 4 years, they don't exist today. You can't go train on them. So what you really, when you're in the classroom, what you're really learning is how to think and how to process and how to problem solve. You simply cannot spend too much time innovating.
Yeah, well, I think that's clearly the right answer. And what's scary about AI is, remember, Desi was saying before, the number of attacks that the Chinese government launches every day against Taiwan and against everyone around the world. You know, the state of South Dakota repels easily more than 1 million attacks a year, not a day, but still a lot.
And many of those are directed at you personally.
Yeah, the bulk of them. But you know, that Sudanese prince needed my help. The scary thing about AI is that it's a force multiplier for the bad guys. And we have to stop them every time. They only have to get through once to cause a lot of trouble, right? Now, to Dusty's point, it's also a force multiplier for the good guys. And so we need to keep innovating and keep learning it, and that'll be your job as the future professionals in this area. But yeah, AI is changing everything, and it's changing it in ways that I don't think anyone understands right now.
I always like to tell people there's AI for cybersecurity and cybersecurity for AI. And we need both directions, by the way. For Chad and Josh, what's one misconception about cybersecurity careers you wish more people would understand?
You know, I think, having talked to a lot of students and interns and young professionals, cybersecurity sounds really technical, and there's a lot of aspects that are. I mean, what Josh does for a living is a great example. I mean, reverse engineering malware, that's awesome. I think when you think of what cybersecurity, though, is, it's that, or maybe I can code something and do it more securely or help fix vulnerabilities, or just other technical things like being an ethical hacker. But just know if that's something you're looking at and you decide as you go, maybe those aren't fits for me, there are so many choices out there. And we need all of you to help solve the cybersecurity challenges that we have. So continue to look for ways to stay in that field in a different way. A very basic example is, like, we need sales team members that understand the issues but are great at communicating with people. Like, that is essential to connecting solutions to people. So you don't have to reverse engineer malware or ethical hack or program. But I'd also play on Dusty's or both of your comments on AI. That is changing that landscape, because now I can be a developer. I wasn't very good at writing code in college. I passed most of my grades if you don't check on that. But now you can do that with AI. I don't have to learn to program Python or anything else. I can have AI help me write that. So it's changing that dynamic on what's possible for you as well. So just be nimble and flexible on the field of cybersecurity, and don't let anybody define it for you. There's so many choices on where you can go in your life. So,
yeah, I echo kind of similar sentiments. When it comes to, before I got into cybersecurity and reverse engineering in particular, I went to pilot training, and then I pivoted into more software engineering and programming, and I did that for quite a few years. It's all interrelated. I think a lot of times you see these educational path certificates, degree programs that are, learn a skill. You're going to become a pen tester. You're going to learn how to analyze malware. And yes, that may become the core part of your task. But as Chad was saying, there's so much more to it that even if you are in a technical role or a non-technical role, it goes both ways. You still need to understand far more about what's going on. One of the things that I've been really surprised at coming to Google is the amount of data that I have access to help with some of the Google at scale operations and threat detection and binary similarity. And while I may have access to it, it's been really up to me to leverage out how to work it. And so having to know more data sciences and machine learning, and guess what? That's all what AI is underpinned with, are things now that I'm having to pick up and learn, not to mention proficiency with some development skills needed to stay. They couldn't completely erode. And I'm writing papers and proposals as well. So there's still a very heavy academic feel to pitching ideas and getting them approved and buy-in from leadership and the team to show the impact and the results that it could have. So it's a whole part of your education and growing in your career, wherever it takes you. You have to be able to just continue to pick up those skills, understand and learn how to communicate, and hopefully that will take you a long way. But it's just the starting point. So I guess stay curious. And there is no end. I've become a reverse engineer at Google or any place, and now you're just there to coast. It's going to be constantly changing. You're going to constantly have to be on your toes, learning new things, learning how to create new things, technologies that don't exist, and that can be overwhelming and exciting and all of those things. So.
Well, thank you all for your insights and for the work that you're doing every day to protect data, people, and institutions. And we're absolutely delighted to be launching a clinic that not only secures our communities, but also helps to educate and train the next generation. I'd like to say to those of you who are at the camp up there, if we did this again in 15 or 20 years, I'd like to see 4 of you right here in these chairs. That's my ambition for you. Think about that one day as you're thinking about what you do. You one day could be sitting in one of these chairs talking to the next generation that come forward. So thank you all very much. Can we give a round of applause for our panel? And then let's go cut that ribbon.